I know the title of this is a pretty bold promise, but my goal in today's episode is to give you 8 years of podcasting lessons in however long this episode lasts, hopefully 15 minutes. Podcast Growth Nation, today for episode number 177, give me 15 minutes. And I'll give you 8 years of podcasting lessons. That is the goal. Hopefully it'll be 15. It might be 20. We might even have to change the title. I don't know, but we're going to see. Okay. I've been doing this a long time. I have failed more than most of you ever will when it comes to podcasting because I've been taking a lot of shots to try to figure out what works, and things that I think are going to work don't work, and things that I don't think are going to work, and it becomes this whole thing. But I have a lot of lessons over the last 8 years, and my goal is to share them with you so you don't have to go through the same pains that I've had to. Here we go. Lesson number 1. If you started a podcast from a place of heart, if you started a podcast from a place of wanting to help people, from trying to be the solution to problems that you had to overcome on your own, you need a freaking strategy. Now, the reason I put this one first and the reason I am so honest and forthright, if that's the right word, with this is because I have seen way too many heart-driven podcasters who have a great mission, a great message, and a great purpose behind their show fail because they don't do the work on themselves to get to the point where they actually feel confident enough to succeed, where they feel like they deserve it enough to actually charge for the things that they're doing. I'm not saying overcharge. You've heard me talk about that, but that's number 1. Starting from a place of heart is amazing, and those are the people I love working with. I don't like working with people who start this because they want to be rich and famous. It's not the same. I like working with people who want to give back to their communities and add value and get better and learn and grow and evolve. I love working with those people. And many times from what I've seen, those people didn't have strategies. And they said, well, I believe if I do this for long enough, something will happen. That's not a strategy. Well, I believe if enough people see the mission and the message and the purpose behind it, it'll start to get legs. No, unfortunately not. Yes, with some podcasts, that happens. Yes, with some movements, that happens. But again, it's a very, very small percentage. So we have to come up with some level of strategy. I'm not saying you have to figure out how to make $1 zillion with your podcast. That's not what I'm saying. But we have to have some level of strategy. What is the 6-month goal? What is the 1-year goal? What are the metrics? How do we measure it? What are the habits that surround that? How do we reverse engineer success a little bit better? If you have the heart, if you have the mission, if you have the message, I believe deeply in you. I would believe even more deeply in all of us if we had a strategy. And this is coming from somebody who did not have a strategy in the beginning. It would have saved me so much pain and so much stress and so much struggle if I had a strategy from the beginning. Now, here's the weird thing. I'm kind of happy I didn't, because I really did start this to help people very much, and I hope that is abundantly clear. But when I started in 2017, I was a kid with a big dream of being able to podcast full-time eventually. That was my goal. There was no strategy under that, and things have changed a bunch. So that's number 1. Number 2, I think we talked about this last week or the week before. Community is everything, and if anything, it is going to be more and more valuable as we go into the future. So I know people that had millions and millions and millions of listens that wanted to do a group coaching program. We do the Next Level Podcast Accelerator. We've done 20 groups of 10 people over the last 4 years, or 5 years. 5 years, I think. And this person who had millions of listens did not have any level of community, and they literally struggled. They couldn't fill a 10 individual group because they had listens, but they did not have community. Again, this is where the heart-driven part versus strategy part comes in, because some people come into this very strategic and they say, nobody can ever get a hold of me. Nobody's going to get my information. You can't talk to me for free ever. I don't think that's good. And then the heart-driven part is, I'm going to talk to everybody all the time until I burn myself out. I also don't think that is good, but I would rather you start on that side for sure. That's the end I started on, and that was very, very helpful to us. I used to give out my direct cell phone number to listeners. We would hop on FaceTimes. I did not have any coaching at this point. This was not at all an attempt for me to make money. There was no way for me to make money at that point. I just wanted to get to know the audience because I wanted to know if what we were talking about on the podcast was actually resonating. And I wanted to talk to the audience to get their perspectives and their experiences on what their life was like. Then I can do episodes based on that, and bada bing, bada boom, right? We're really doing it at that point. But a lot of people want to go from the podcast to a business, quote unquote. There has to be some level of community. I'm convinced of that. It's harder and harder in the real world to connect with real people, especially with AI, especially with people inflating their views and their listens that aren't real and their followers that aren't real. I'm telling you, if you have 20 people that listen to an episode, if we can find one of those people somehow, and you do that every week for a year, I know it might seem insignificant. I know it might seem like a waste of time. You have a group of 52 people who know you, who like you, who trust you, who vibe with you, who have the same core values as you. I believe in you. I believe that you can win with that. I do. I really, really, really do. Alan asked me the other day, he said, remember Pat Flynn? Pat Flynn's a big podcaster, and he's big in many things, YouTube. And I said, yeah, because I had talked about him a lot in the past. He had Superfans, I think is the name of his book. He's written a lot of books, and he's very successful in the podcasting space. And he said, in today's awareness, when you look back, what do you think about him? And I said, out of all the people I've heard and learned from, I think his thought process around just build superfans is one of the best things of all time. I really do. What differentiates you from all the other podcasts that your audience is listening to? You get back to them. That's going to be one, because a lot of the other podcasts they're listening to, the people aren't going to get back to them. You can literally differentiate yourself right there. So community over everything. We have a lot of free things. We have a free fitness accountability group. We have a free book club. We have a free Facebook group. We have a free master class group. We have a bunch of things that we do. And book club is free. The master classes are free. There's a lot of free stuff. A lot of people think that's dumb and they think that's short-sighted. I think that's the way of the future. I really do. Because if you spend enough time in a community, if you're going to work with someone, it's going to be the people that are creating the community in the first place. So that's number 2. Community is everything. I don't think you should try to be overly exclusive. You can't get a hold of me. You can't get a hold of me. I don't think that works. I think that's a dangerous game, especially in the beginning. Now, if you have 200 clients and you don't, that's a different story, right? But let's cross that bridge when we get there. So that's number 2. Number 3, the way everyone is winning is not the way that you need to win. I cannot stress this enough. I cannot stress the fact that many of the top podcasts in the world, they did not get successful from podcasting. That's one piece. Having your own custom studio where you fly guests in, I've had my own custom studio, and we've literally had guests come to the studio. So I've done that, and it's awesome. And it's also not for everybody. So just because that's what a lot of people are doing does not mean that's what you have to do. Now, if you want to do that, love it. I love it. Just don't assume that you have to do what the biggest shows in the world are doing. A lot of the reasons they're the biggest shows in the world are not just because of what we see on camera. There's money behind the scenes. There's connections behind it. It's just a little bit different. It's just different. It's like, not how many directors are going to be Steven Spielberg and do it the same way he did? How many directors are going to be James Cameron and make these giant movies that cost $1 billion to make or whatever it is? Very few. If you're a director, I wouldn't tell you to do that. I would say, well, depending on where you are, you have to get creative and do something completely different and then work your way up. So that's number 3. The way everyone else is winning is not necessarily the way that you need to win. I think you should try to make it about what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, that type of thing, as opposed to, well, this is how everybody else does it. I'm going to do ads, sponsorships, whatever. If that's how you want to do it, fine. But I just don't want you to limit yourself to thinking I have to do it that way because that's how the biggest shows are doing it. I know a lot of musicians, not personally, I'd like to know them personally, But I know a lot of musicians, they're independent. They quite literally are doing the opposite of what the biggest artists on the planet are doing. And they're getting bigger and they're getting bigger. And they're getting more, I won't say more financially successful, but they are getting very financially successful with less of an audience because they're doing it in a different way. I just think that's a good example.
Hello, my name is Dr. Tarryn McCarthy, and I'm host of the Business of Happiness podcast. When I met Kevin and Alan 2 years ago, I had no idea of how much impact they would have not only on the success for my business, but also on my life. They've given me enormous perspective and true strategies, true tactics to take in my everyday business plan and in my life plan to make an even greater success. Kevin and Alan, thank you so much. I couldn't even begin to express my gratitude for all you've done for me. And if you're looking for similar mentorship, I highly recommend these incredible experts at the Next Level University.
Okay, number 4, you have to go all in on your thing. So we have a client that we started with them by just doing a very small scope of work, and then it went from 1 episode a week to 2 episodes a week, and then it went from 1 episode a week to 2 episodes a week to 2 episodes and an audio, and then 2 episodes and audio, and then remastering old episodes, and there's a bunch. Then it was, let's go back and do titles and thumbnails, and there was a bunch of changes. And I had a call with one of the members of this podcast, and they said, well, we really want to grow this part of our business. And I said, well, what are you aspiring to be the best at? Like, I have $10,000 in my hand, imagine. I'm going to pay you to come speak on something. What is the one thing you're going to speak on? And they said, that's the issue. We're not really sure yet. And I said, well, then nothing else really matters right now. That's the thing. That's the focus. We need to focus on what's going to be your one thing. This was probably like 4 years ago. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. What year is it? 2025, 2020? Yeah, it was probably 2020. 2021, I had mindset clients and I would say success clients, quote unquote. And I went to Alan one day and I said, hey, I need to give you my clients if they want to go from me to you. One, I think they're going to be better off with you because all you do is success and business. And I said, I want to be more of a podcast guy. I want to be more of a podcast coach. And I don't want to do 2 things. I need to go all in on one thing. And there's no way this all would have grown the way it has if we didn't do that. Now, here's the fine line. In the beginning, you have to do what you can do to get the job done. So I did personal training. I did mindset, whatever you needed. If I felt like I could add meaningful value, I would do it, right? For a fee, usually a very small fee. But as things evolved and we could see, okay, right now we're steady. We're not crushing it by any stretch of the imagination in 2020, 2021. Not crushing it at all. But we have an idea of how things are going, and we have an idea of what our strengths are, and we just have more perspective than we have in the past. It makes sense for me to go all in on podcasting. Alan's going all in on business. There's a reason for that. There's a reason, because it's really, really hard to win. If I'm introducing you to someone, or I'm talking about you, and you've heard me say this a million times, I'm talking about you behind the scenes. How do I describe you? If I don't describe you in a way that suggests what you're the best at, either you haven't branded yourself correctly or I don't understand the branding. And either of those is obviously possible. But that's when people get introduced to me through friends. It's usually, this is the podcaster. That's great. That's great. Anytime somebody has a question about equipment or this mic or whatever it is, I get the message. That's a really good suggestion of branding, and that's a really good suggestion that me going all in on that one thing was probably the right choice. I think and this would be a deeper conversation for a different episode, but how do you know? How long do you wait? At what point in your journey? I mean, that's a deeper dive for sure. So maybe we'll do that in the future. All right. Number 4, we get 2 more. Number 4, downloads and listens are only one measure, and they're not always the best, especially from a place of comparison. So if you have a podcast that is about running for women over 40, you're not ever going to win the listens game because you have a very, very niched podcast. But you can win other ways. So this is why understanding what you're measuring is so important. We've had very big months of downloads. We've had very small months of downloads in the beginning. We've had average months. It's been all over the place over the last 8 years. That's only one measure. If you have 1,000 downloads per episode and you don't know your audience, that doesn't mean much to me, honestly. Not for longevity. Not for longevity for that podcaster. I don't think that's the way. If you have 100 listens per episode and you know your audience and you could message 5 people right now, I'm telling you, you're way ahead of the curve. It just doesn't feel like it because nobody really talks about that. And that's a very hard thing to measure. So that's number 5. I guess we have 6. Did I do 6? I don't know. That's number 5. Downloads and listens are only one measure. And when it comes to comparison, those are not a good thing to measure at all because, of course, certain shows are going to get bigger reaches. They appeal to more people. So naturally, right? There's way more true crime fans than there are cyclists. So the numbers aren't going to work out. The numbers aren't going to work out. And that's totally fine as long as you're aware of that. And then just to piggyback on that, the last point is Google is your friend. Get as much accurate info as possible. So much of what I've learned has just been searching the internet and watching podcasts about podcasts and reading books about podcasts and trying to learn a little bit more about conversion rates and marketing and all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, if you don't understand your industry and you don't understand the podcasting industry, you might be doing way better than you think, but if you don't think you're doing better than you think, it doesn't matter. So, for example, how many podcast downloads is good, quote unquote? And this is based on July 2025 data. If your new episode gets, within 7 days of its release, more than 27 downloads, okay, 27. Think about this. Pause this. What percentage of podcasters do you think you're in? 27 within the first 7 days. So that means you're getting 4 listens a day for 7 days, okay? You're in the top 50% of podcasts. 27 downloads. Top 50%. That's not bad. If you're out there right now and you're thinking, I get 50 listens, I get 50 downloads in the first 7 days. Awesome. You're maybe doing better than you think. More than 109 downloads, you're in the top 25% of podcasts. You can win with that. I'm telling you. You can win with that if you do that long enough. More than 454, you're in the top 10%. More than 1,048, you're in the top 5%. And more than 4,269, you're in the top 1% of podcasts. This is what I'm here to tell you. And maybe this is the simplest one out of all this. And it encapsulates everything. You do not have to have hundreds of thousands or millions of listens, downloads, views to be quote unquote successful. As long as you can formulate some level of strategy. And I'm huge on that being something free that is not very scalable, which means it's hard to do for long periods of time and it's overwhelming. But I'm telling you, I still do free coaching with clients. If a client signs up for a package with us, let's say they sign up for a $500 a month package, and they want to do 1 coaching call per month, the price doesn't change. They want to do 2 coaching calls per month, the price doesn't change. They want to talk to me every single day in WhatsApp, the price doesn't change. I give away a lot of my time because we're not at a place where that's not sustainable. Eventually, yes, if you want just the package, it's going to be this amount. If you want a package and a call, it'll be more. But we're 8 years in and it's still free. There's a reason for that. Because I believe that is the best way to grow the things that we're trying to grow. Just like a lot of podcasters want to put their podcast behind a paywall. I don't think that's the answer. We want the biggest number of people to listen because the bigger the number, the more people that will come down into the business or into the group or into the whatever, right? So I think that's a hard thing. Because a lot of us are thinking very short term. It's like, oh, I'll try this out for 6 months and see what happens. 6 months is not, in the grand scheme of things, that much time. You don't even know your partner. You get to a new relationship. You don't know your partner 6 months in. You think you do, but you don't. it takes a while before you really understand. I think podcasting is very similar. All right, did we go over on time? I think we went in like 20 minutes, so this is going to be, give me 20 minutes, and I'll give you 8 years of podcasting lessons. All right, if you are out there and we didn't talk about something today, and you want to, I'll have my link below for a free 30-minute podcast breakthrough session. Again, I still do those. I've done 500 and something of those. Love it. I'm a huge fan, and that's part of my personality. But yeah, I think that's a very valuable use of time. I get to learn about you. I get to learn about what you're struggling with. I can then do episodes on it. It's just an amazing opportunity. I'll have my link below for that. And then we have a private Facebook group called Podcast Growth Nation. We'll have the link below for that as well. And if you are interested in the Next Level Podcast Accelerator, we don't have another group starting for a while. I think it's starting, I don't know, first week of January maybe. But we can have the link for that. It's nextleveluniverse.com, and then we have a landing page there. I think it's open for signups. So if you want a 12-week boot camp on growing, scaling, and monetizing your podcast, developing the habits, developing the mindset, all of that stuff, we go deep into that. We'll have that below as well. All right. I hope for you that however long you've been in the game, in the podcasting game, you have a bunch of lessons. And I hope the lessons that you're learning today are more powerful and they're creating more opportunity for you. And you're remembering how all the lessons have lined up over however many days, weeks, months, or years you've been on this weird podcasting journey. Until next week, keep on crushing it, keep on podcasting, and I will talk to you all then.